Hey, what's up guys? My name is Rob, and you are of course on Rule of Two Review, and here we are at my new E3 video. My previous E3 video just a couple of days ago was about my top 5 confirmed games for E3 2015. I'm going to link that below in case you didn't have a chance to check it out. Again, the purpose of that video was to discuss games that we are aware of, that we already know exist, that we know are coming out soon, that are confirmed, they're not mysteries or surprises or rumors, and games that are all but confirmed to also be at the show. And so today's a very different list that I wanted to make. It's about 5 games that are rumors, or that we don't know about, or that we've never heard of. Basically games that for all we know are mysteries. This is going to be a list of a couple very obvious ones, some that are very also personal to me. So, you know, you could even say there's one particular that's a pretty unique case that I don't think a lot of people are thinking about. There has been rumors about this title in the past, but it's been a long time since we've heard anything about it. Like I said, there's 1 or 2 other ones that are pretty obvious, and the more you know me or are familiar with the channel, the more you might be able to predict what some of them are. I've even talked about some of them recently as well. So this one is a lot more exciting because this one is almost like a wish list. It's kind of like a shopping cart. I'm just picking titles and releases and surprises out of a shop and just throwing them into the shopping cart. Like, I'll take one of these and I'll take one of these, and why not 1 or 2 of those? And I'll just check out now and have all of these games exist and be real. In a perfect world, that's what it is. I will also add the one amendment. One of these is all but guaranteed to show up. There's another one that has a pretty good chance of showing up. And then the other, I think 3 would probably have no chance in hell of actually showing up. So it's kind of just one of those unfortunate things, but hey man, I mean, that's just the way these things go. That's what E3 is about. What is it that you're hoping to see? Like I said in my last video, it's actually more exciting to put together this kind of list than the one about the games that we already know about, because we already know about those. These are ones, you know, these are the hopes and dreams of gamers that go into these kind of lists. And when we get excited to go into E3, that's what we're thinking about is, oh man, will this game show up? Will we get this surprise? Will we get this new game? Will we get this returning game? Will we get this sequel? All these things, I mean, this is what makes us excited for E3 as gamers. And again, E3 is only 2 months away at this point, so it's time for us to start getting hyped and start theorizing and thinking about these things. And that's what kind of sparked my interest to do this video series again, because I did the same thing last year. So, that being said, you've got my ideas, and at that point, I guess we'll just go ahead and get to it. So we will start off with number 5. Okay, so of course, it should be noted that since these are all games that are mysteries or rumors or unconfirmed, it means I, unfortunately, of course, have no gameplay. So we're really just going to be looking at still photos and logos for this video. Hopefully that's new terribly boring, but I simply can't make gameplay footage show up. That doesn't exist yet. So we're going to go ahead and start off here with number 5. And number 5 is one of the games that really I don't think has a very good chance of showing up, and that would be a brand new FZero. Now, a lot of people have been talking about FZero for a while. A lot of Nintendo fans and Wii U fans. I'm right along in that conversation. I flipping love FZero. I think all 3 of the main games that we saw here in the States, which was the original Super Nintendo release, FZero X on the Nintendo 64 and FZero GX on the GameCube, are all awesome. I mean, when I first saw FZero on the Super Nintendo, for any other gamer who was old enough to have been gaming at that time and experienced the 16-bit when it was brand new, I mean, that shit blew my mind. That blew everyone's mind. It was like, whoa, Mode 7 graphics, all this scaling and panning ground and scenery and stuff around you, and it was so fast, and the music was amazing. It's still memorable today. I mean, that was just something that we had never ever seen, and FZero X was just a great way to take the series into 3D for the 64. I know that there was I think FZero 2 might have been on the Super Nintendo. There was 1 or 2 Game Boy Advance games or Game Boy games that released. And I don't think Maximum Velocity, I don't think that released in the States. I could be wrong. But regardless, I still think of FZero as those 3 main games. FZero GX, which was actually developed by Sega for the GameCube, was flipping unreal. So good. Really difficult, but painfully fun. Gorgeous. One of the best looking games I've seen in a very long time. So when I think about how Nintendo could build on that and bring that to the Wii U, and take the amazing graphics and that super crazy speed, a lot of the ingenuity and brilliance that they brought into Mario Kart 8, for example, and bring that into this new 8th generation and take advantage of the Wii U make it online, you know, give some cool battle modes, maybe add weapons, obviously. Even though the game is so fast, it'd be neat if there was some way to incorporate some of the gamepad functionality and the touchscreen stuff going on. I know that would be tough for a game that plays that fast, but who knows? There could be something brilliant and wacky that they could think of that we would never really think of. So, you know, it's really exciting to think about. I do think there's a slight possibility the game could show up at some point in the future. I don't necessarily think it's this year or that the time is right now. So that's probably why, as excited as I am at the prospect, I'm still including it on the list only at number 5, because I don't think it's very likely. But for all we know, Nintendo could be working on a new FZero, and hey, if we're lucky, we might see it at this year's E3. Coming in at number 4 is a game that should be no surprise. It's a game that I also included in my list last year going into E3, and funnily enough, it showed up at the same spot last year as well. That is going to be Fallout 4. Now, Fallout 4, to me and a lot of gamers, is all but already guaranteed to show up this year. If anything, the simple fact that Bethesda has confirmed they're doing their first ever press conference at E3, where they're going to take their own hour or hour and a half and dedicate that to their games and their upcoming projects, it seems like the time is really right for Fallout 4. We haven't heard from the series in a very long time. We've had 2 Elder Scrolls releases since the release of Fallout New Vegas, which in and of itself was certainly like a full, well-rounded game, but felt more like an expansion on Fallout 3 than really its own new experience. So when you think about Fallout 4, years worth of rumors leading into this E3 where Bethesda's going to have a press conference. I mean, all signs point to Fallout. I think that it's almost insane to think that this game won't show up at E3 this year. Of course, it's not an actual lock, and again, no one's confirmed it, which is why it's even able to make it onto this list. But I'm telling you, Fallout 4 is going to happen. Love Fallout. I just can't even explain how many hours I've lost to Fallout 3. Many people have experienced that. I think Bethesda's huge open world stuff is fantastic. Yes, you could argue that it's slow, it's clunky, it's glitchy and buggy, and you know what? That's all true. But honestly, I just don't care because the worlds are so fun to explore, and there's so much you can do, and you can just kind of pick and choose your own path and build yourself with different factions and find random people to help save or even kill. You just get a lot of cool weapons to use, and I just don't really care that the combat is kind of clunky. I just love playing those games. I love it in first person. The rumor that Fallout 4 might take place in Boston with the Commonwealth is actually really exciting too. I grew up on the East Coast. I have a lot of family in Boston, so I've spent a lot of time there as a kid. So I think it'd be neat to see a lot of those areas that I remember and kind of see what they might do and how they would work it into the future universe that is Fallout and kind of do some really neat things there. So there's tons of potential. It's just a game that everyone freaking wants. Everyone has been clamoring for Fallout 4 forever. That's why there's so many rumors. That's why there was a hoax last year with a fake website counting down to a Fallout 4 release. I mean, it's crazy. This game has to exist. There is no doubt in my mind that Bethesda's working on it. I am as sure that Bethesda's working on Fallout 4 as I am that the sky is above my head when I walk outside. Like, it's flipping happening. You're having a conference this year. Bethesda, don't be stupid. Give us Fallout 4. So that's the reason why it made it onto this list. A, I want it more than anything, and B, it's just almost a lock that the game will show up at E3 this year. Number 3 is an interesting title because although we recently had the reveal and confirmation of Star Wars Battlefront 3 from EA and DICE just last week, what I'm really hoping for at E3 this year is the announcement of another new Star Wars game. I want more Star Wars. The time for Star Wars is now. I've talked about this many times. I have lamented over and over again how Star Wars completely fucked up and missed the boat last generation. The 7th generation, as far as I'm concerned, really didn't have Star Wars games. Yes, the Force Unleashed games were very high profile, and there are a lot of people that enjoyed those games, and I get it. For the first one, I enjoyed it enough for what it was. I hated the ending. That game made me so angry, and the Force Unleashed 2 somehow managed to take really excellent combat mechanics and make a pretty bad game. I was really disappointed. The Starkiller character had so much potential, and they screwed it up, and to me, it just didn't deliver. As a diehard, gargantuan Star Wars fan, the premise was there, but they didn't deliver. Other than that, there was a Clone Wars games on the Wii. There was the Lego Star Wars games, which are good, but it's like that's not really like a Star Wars game. The fact that we had Star Wars 1313 being worked on and canceled when, you know, Disney screwed up and closed LucasArts down was just horrible. But EA picking up the license, to me, was actually a good thing. And I know a lot of people may cry foul because everyone hates EA, and I get that. And yes, they're kind of making some huge typical third-party company mistakes with Battlefront 3 so far, it seems. But you know what? I still feel like when it comes to other brand new Star Wars experiences, whether you're making stuff based on the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the Old Republic again, which I hope we don't actually have anytime soon, or stuff based on the new trilogy. I mean, this is the time where you could do anything. You have carte blanche, EA, and I think you really do and can make really great games. So let's get back into the story elements. Let's stick within the realm of the film saga. I want to see stuff that happens between episodes 1 and episodes 9. I mean, show us that you have other things for Star Wars in the works. And honestly, I think we're going to see that. To tell you the truth, I think that EA, at their press conference, will spend more time than just on Star Wars Battlefront. Yes, they're going to talk about Mass Effect, probably Dragon Age DLC, Madden, other sports projects, other new projects, Battlefront 3, and you know what? I bet that they will show us another Star Wars game. And if they don't show us another specific game, I think they will at least tease the future of Star Wars in video games, because there's no way that they're working on just this one game in Battlefront 3. There is just way too much money to be made, way too many fans to please with some other kick-ass Star Wars games. You know what? If you canceled 1313, that's okay, provided you give us something comparable as a replacement. That is the kind of game where it's a huge, high, AAA, high-scale, epic Star Wars adventure, something that's very story-heavy. That's what I want. Yes, I'll play Battlefront for all the online multiplayer chaos that everyone shoehorned into every freaking game, even though, yes, I know Battlefront, it's not shoehorned in, it's centered around the online component. But I get that we're going to do that in Battlefront. Okay, you know what? Star Wars also hinges on its stories and its characters. I spent a 25-minute rant talking about this after Battlefront 3 was revealed, and I stand by that. So if you're going to make other Star Wars games going forward, take us into the world of Star Wars. Take us to places we know. Let us get to know these characters, new or established in the film universe, and explore them deeper. Let's find out what was going on behind the scenes with the Rebel Alliance or the Clone Wars, or, the plot to take over and turn the Republic into the Empire. Like, there's so many things going on. So, take us somewhere for the new films. Like, make an Episode 7 story-related game. And I'm just beating around the bush at this point, but there's obviously hundreds of ideas, literally, for us to continue to explore with Star Wars. And I think that EA is going to show us that they have more than just Battlefront 3 in the pipeline. And, I could sit here and rattle off my wish list of all these Star Wars games I want, but I just want anything that looks awesome to accompany the Battlefront 3 excitement. So, EA, if you're smart, you're going to show us you're doing more than Battlefront and give us other new Star Wars games to be excited about. Okay, and number 2 is going to be a personal fan favorite that not everyone may understand or agree with, but I don't care, because this is my list that I'm making, and I have been dying for this game for so long. It's been literally over a decade. This game was due to us 10 years ago. That is Beyond Good and Evil 2. Now, the only reason I feel comfortable even talking about it on a list like this, and by the way, it did also make my list last year, is because this game has been talked about by Ubisoft, by Michel Ancel. Ubisoft is at the top of a lot of people's shit list, especially just in the gaming industry. Everyone's got it out for Ubisoft, and honestly, so do I. They've pissed me off lately too. I agree with the hate and all the issues that they've given us. That being said, the one thing that would wash away all of their sins for me personally and me alone would be Beyond Good and Evil 2. I have such a love and appreciation of that first game. It's probably one of my top 10 favorite gaming experiences of all time. I played it on the GameCube. It won E3 Best of Show the year before it came out in 2000. It released in 2003. It was E3 2002 that it won Game of Show. I was managing a GameStop at the time, and there was so much hype building into this game. It just looked and sounded like a game I'd never heard about before. I'd never seen anything like that going into it. Again, now 12 years ago, you have to remember. And it came out, and it was even better than I expected. That was one of the most interesting open-world experiences and stories that I had ever experienced, again, in 2003. And it laid the groundwork for a lot of things going forward, I think, especially when you think of Ubisoft's games and you look at things like Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs, which are their current-gen, relevant open-world sandbox kind of games. This started for Ubisoft with Beyond Good and Evil. And it was a game that was critically well received. Every gamer who played it, for the most part, loved and adored it. And for some weird-ass reason, it didn't sell well. It's like an unexplainable mystery. No one knows why this game didn't catch on, despite the fact that no one had a bad thing to say about it. It just didn't sell well. Very similar to Psychonauts in the same generation. But since I played that game, and I loved it to death, and we've heard rumors and rumblings about Beyond Good and Evil 2, it's coming, it's going away. It's coming, it's going away. Here's a weird random teaser with Jade and Paige, and then we're going to disappear for another couple years. And then we're going to talk about it again, and then it's going to go away again. So it's not like a made-up sequel that I want. It's a game that either does exist or has existed in the past and has been spoken about publicly on record. You can go to the Wikipedia page, and you can even see and hear the quotes. So this is a game that just means a lot to me, to Rob. I know it doesn't mean a lot to everybody. That being said, my second most popular video I've ever made was about Beyond Good and Evil 2 rumors, like, I don't know, 8 or 9 months ago. And it's literally the second most viewed video I've ever made. It's got like 15,000 views, which for me is a lot. So, I mean, there obviously is a market. There is an audience and a demand for this game. And I do think that Ubisoft knows that. I think that Michel Ancel, who I really like, I think that he knows that too. So I just want to believe and hope that this game is being made. And I don't even know what I would do. My head would literally catch on fire if I saw that this game was announced or showed or even any other information came out of E3 this year about it. Is it possible? Not really. I mean, I'm not delusional, and I don't really think that it has a chance of showing up this year. But, you know, it's existed. It's been talked about. Maybe before we're dead, the game will show up. I don't think it's going to be this year, but you know what? Whatever. This is what E3 hype is all about. We can hope and dream. So I'm going to hope and dream, like I have every year for the past 5 or 6 years, that we will finally see Beyond Good and Evil 2 at E3. And now we come to the fateful #1 spot, which is probably going to be super boring because you all already know what I'm going to say. That is Metroid. Nintendo, give us Metroid. Everyone on planet Earth wants flippin' Metroid. And we know you're working on it. There's so many signs and rumors the past year that has pointed to all these things going on with Metroid. And is Retro finally back working on it again, or is it a different team? Is it going to be Metroid Prime 4? Is it going to be another brand new title? Is it going to be first person, or is it going to be third person? Or is it going to be 2D? Are you making a Wii U or a 3DS game? Are you making a game for both systems, which I kind of think really could be possible, but that might also be wishful thinking on my part. There's so much going on there in the rumor camp. And, you know, Miyamoto talked about, he referenced Metroid and what they wanted to do with the series right after E3 last year. I mean, literally days after E3 was over, he did make a public statement, or a quote from E3 or something had come out right after E3 was over. So we know that it's being discussed and thought about. I mean, it's one of Nintendo's flagship, series and characters. They obviously love Samus and they love the Metroid universe. And everyone in the world knows that the Wii U is a great fit to bring a new Metroid game. That touch screen, that gamepad could bring so many elements to the series and to Samus as a character. You could do something online, maybe. You've done the Hunter's game on the DS before. Who knows what you could do there. Maybe cross-compatibility with a 3DS version of a game or something could be really neat. A lot of people forget this, but in 2002, Metroid Prime released the exact same day and date as Metroid Fusion on the Game Boy Advance. People forget that, but Nintendo did release 2 very different, unrelated Metroid games on the exact same day. One for their current generation home console at the time, and one for their current handheld. So it's not even like it's never happened before. There is a precedent for Nintendo to maybe say, we're going to release the same day and date a Metroid on the Wii U and a Metroid on the 3DS. I mean, wow, that would be amazing. A 2D Metroid experience would be fantastic. What I'm going to do is, a couple of months ago, for one of my Question Corner videos, I answered a question where I discussed ideas for what the next Metroid could be. And it's a nice lengthy video, as I tend to make. You got about 20 minutes worth of me discussing my theories and hopes and wishes for a new Metroid, both on the Wii U and on the 3DS. I'm going to link that below. If you haven't heard or seen that video, I definitely implore you to go and watch it. And if you're a Metroid fan, I would love to hear your thoughts, because I really go in depth on some really cool ideas and discuss like the myriad possibilities that the gamepad specifically for the Wii U would bring to the Metroid series on the Wii U for Samus as a character. Like I said, there's a lot of cool shit that could happen there, man. And I just love me some Metroid, man. Samus means so much to me. You know, I'm a very heavily tattooed individual. I have a lot of nerdy tattoos and Star Wars tattoos. My next project for tattooing myself is going to be Metroid-related stuff. Definitely before I die, I will have a lot of Samus and Metroid-related things on my body. I really am dedicated to the series, man. I just can't wait. And there's nothing but just signs pointing to them working on something, man. So, I mean, there's not really much else to say about it. We all know what we want. We all know that we want Metroid, and it's just a matter of if Nintendo's finally going to be ready to give it to us. So, my likelihood that this is going to happen is Higher than it's been in a long time, but it's still not very high. I kind of wish I had done like a percentage for all of these predictions so far, but I'm just going to do it for Metroid. I would say that this is a 35% chance that we'll see Metroid this year, or, you know, hear about it, have an announcement, what have you. There are theories that because next year is the 30th anniversary of the series, because the original released in Japan in 1986, that maybe they're going to announce something this year to release next year. I don't really know that that's totally true, but it could happen. So I'm going to go with, you know, 35% on the low end, 40% on the high end that we actually see a Metroid announced this year at E3. It'll be really exciting to see. You know, you guys should definitely tell me if you think that my guess and my prediction is right on there. But, I mean, there's no doubt. It's going to be Metroid #1 every year until we see it again. I don't care if it takes 20 fucking years. I'm going to keep saying Metroid, Metroid, Metroid. Nintendo, make a goddamn Metroid game so everyone can give you all their money and love you again for making this series and bringing this character back to us the way we want. All right, and there you go. Those are my 5 most wanted games, my mysteries, my rumors, my wish list for E3, stuff that I want to hear and see announced and have information on that we so far have had nothing ever talked about. Obviously, I cover the gamut, you know. I don't think that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is going to happen. I doubt Metroid's going to happen. I really doubt F-Zero is going to happen. But, you know, the Star Wars and the Fallout thing, those I think are pretty good shoo-ins. I think we're going to hear a lot from Star Wars. And Fallout 4, man, go place your bets in Vegas, because if you want to make a lot of money, put your money on Fallout 4 being discussed this year, because that shit is going to happen. So thanks for tuning in. Of course, if you didn't check out my previous video about my top 5 confirmed games, please go ahead and do so. I will also have that linked below. That was a really fun list to put together too. I've got one more idea for an E3 hype video that I'm going to try to do in the next week or two also, so hopefully that gets everyone excited. Definitely talk about my 5 predictions, what you think about the 5 games that I discussed today. Also share the 5 games or any games that you would also like to see surprise announced. Show up whether you've heard rumors about it or whether it's just your own personal favorite series you want to see return or what have you. New IPs also welcome, of course. I definitely want to see what Retro and Next Level Games are working on this year as well. Maybe Naughty Dog has another game that isn't The Last of Us or Uncharted to talk about. Who knows? You know, new IPs are always fun too. But discuss your theories below. What 5 games do you want to see? Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to Rule of 2 Review, please feel free to subscribe, like, and share the video. Share those 5 games you're excited about below. And thanks for tuning in. I will catch you guys next time for another E3 video for Rule of 2 Review.